For most of our history, we have treated the human psyche as an unreachable fog, mysterious, fragmented, and ultimately unknowable. We speak about our interior lives as if they were a series of disconnected weather events, lacking a shared language or a clear center to guide us. Our modern disciplines only deepen the confusion by carving the mind into fragments. Neuroscience studies the brain. Psychoanalysis studies unconscious drives. Spiritual traditions speak of the soul. Each field claims a different part of us as the definitive whole. This lack of consensus creates a specific kind of despair for those experiencing deep trauma. When the experts can't agree on what the mind is, the individual assumes their own suffering is proof they are impossibly complex or fundamentally broken. But the psyche has remained mysterious largely because it has been misdescribed. We have been asking questions about our nature from inside the very confusion we are trying to solve. Look at how these highlighted sections are labeled. Each discipline seizes on a single function, adaptation, motivation, or witnessing, and mistakes that lens for the entire field. They aren't necessarily wrong about what they see, but they are wrong when they claim their part is the whole. Chronic mental suffering is the predictable result of trying to navigate the inner world using these broken, incomplete maps. To find our way back, we have to look at the psyche as a functional system. It is a relational structure composed of exactly 4 distinct interacting functions. At the center is the observer, the witnessing capacity that notices thought and emotion without being consumed by them. Then there is the spirit, the feeling, motivating life force that aches, longs, and responds to the world. We then have the ego, the adaptive manager that helps us survive the external world, and the heart. In this system, the heart is the compass. It is the clearest lens available to the observer, offering the most humane way of seeing reality. The ego is often treated as a villain, but its role is vital. It is meant to protect, organize, and manage our external lives. Problems only arise when it is forced out of its role as an adaptive tool. Presence and peace emerge naturally when these 4 functions remain in this specific, balanced relationship with one another. The system breaks when the ego is forced out of its protective boundary and into the center. When we mistake our adaptive function for our actual identity, the ego begins trying to act as the primary compass. This creates a literal curvature in the psyche. The observer's vision becomes distorted, and the spirit gets organized around fear and self-protection. Longing is replaced by compensation. The body is left to carry the physical weight of this contradiction. Like a support beam under misaligned pressure, the physical system registers the strain of this internal structural failure. This distortion forces us to mistake our survival adaptations for our nature. We begin living from a place of withdrawal or control, as though those traits were the truth of who we are. We stop recognizing the architecture of our survival. The adaptation becomes a self-description. Instead of acknowledging that we learn to disappear to stay safe, we say, "I am just not a vulnerable person." Humans are unique in this regard. We are the only species that builds entire moral and religious systems around our confusion, judging others based on how well they perform these architectural distortions. Psychological suffering is the specific friction created when a survival adaptation hardens into a self-description. Healing is the process of restoring the psyche's lawful relationship with itself. It is not something manufactured from the outside, nor is it a state of moral perfection. Popular efforts to destroy the ego miss the point. The goal is the restoration of the system's architecture, which means moving the ego back into its proper role as a servant to the whole. This realignment begins when we step out of the way. By stopping our habitual interruptions, we allow the psyche's inherent intelligence to resurface. This requires staying with grief instead of outrunning it, and acknowledging feelings rather than overriding them. When we stop treating our protective walls as our essence, the pressure that keeps the system bent starts to dissipate. Because the human system never stopped leaning toward truth, the psyche naturally moves back towards its original coherence once these obstructions relax. It is self-correcting by design, provided we stop defending the distortion. When the heart resumes its place as the clearest lens, The observer can finally recognize that what felt like self was often just architecture. The spirit can be felt without being overridden, and the body registers a new sense of coherence. This shift does not make us saintly or magically exempt from pain. It simply makes us true to what we are. Evolution is the process of becoming aligned with our original nature. We are returning to what we were first, before the adaptation became the identity. The goal of understanding this internal architecture is not to create perfect humans, but to foster the emergence of more humane humans.